Keane, retired four-star general, chairman of the Institute of the Study of War, and of course a Fox News senior strategic analyst. General, thank you so much for joining us here in this Saturday afternoon. I want to get right to this call today that President Biden had with President Putin. He talked about imposing swift and severe costs on Russia should Russia essentially move in and continue with this. What are the potential risks that Russia could face?
Well, yeah, this is not without risk for Putin. I mean, I really believe he started this whole affair with the idea he would get some concessions using military force, obviously as the intimidator and the coercer here. And that really hasn't happened. He has gotten no material concessions whatsoever. So let's assume that he does conduct some kind of an invasion, either likely a more limited one, but nonetheless, he's in Ukraine and he's killing Ukrainians. This is not without risk for him. First of all, I think he significantly underestimated Zelensky. Zelensky, I think he thought was a lightweight, an entertainer, and Zelensky has stayed tough on all this intimidation through all the negotiations with the Russians. He has never wavered one time on what the Russians want, and that is autonomy in the Donbass area, separated from the control and influence of Zelensky's government. He has not budged on any of that. Secondly, he's got his people. Their morale is pretty good. There's not a mass exodus from the country. People aren't storing and hoarding food here. There's absolutely no panic taking place in the face of all of this. And Zelensky has actually had time to counsel the United States on saber rattling about an invasion, and also counseled the president on a gaffe that he made. So the fact is, if he comes in and kills Ukrainians, which an invasion will do, I think it'll so significantly stiffen the resolve of these Ukrainians, which is already pretty good, that it's going to be a problem for Putin for years to come. The second risk that he has here is, listen, he's invading a sovereign, independent nation, the second largest in Europe. I mean, the international pushback for that in terms of Putin's reputation and Russia itself would be quite significant. I do think his stature as a strong man will diminish. And the last thing is, if Biden does come through with this toughness on the sanctions, particularly going after Russia's banks and cutting off foreign aid and the rest of it, there is no doubt, if he fulfills that obligation, that Russia's economy will suffer. The people will suffer. And so these are risks that Putin has got to be weighing when he's considering, do I invade now because I haven't got any concessions out of Zelensky, I've got no concessions out of the U.S. and NATO, and do I take on this added risk? That's in his calculation for sure.
Well, you know, it seems that NATO has done exactly what you would think President Putin does not want, and they've had this enormous buildup, including American troops, you know, in Eastern Europe, sending in additional troops, not stepping into Ukraine, of course, these American troops, but like F-15 fighter jets are now in Poland. There's this incredible buildup in the NATO community all across Eastern Europe. That you wouldn't think that would be what Putin would want.
Putin wanted the opposite. He wanted to weaken NATO, divide it. And obviously, he's been asking to pull NATO forces back from being forward deployed up against Russia's border. And as you just pointed out, the exact opposite is happening. Not only that, but, you know, there's divisions in NATO, and we've seen it manifested with the French and the Germans recently. But the truth is, Putin's aggression here and the threat of war has galvanized NATO, where their focus is now on him and on his military force. So the result will be more forces along his border and a better focus from the NATO contingent on the major threat that Russia is presenting to him, the exact opposite of what he's trying to achieve.
The United States has urged U.S. citizens to get out. Russia now saying they're asking their citizen, the embassy, to get out. So do you think that Putin is going to move in with the troops?
Well, if he doesn't get any concessions, I think it's likely he'll conduct some kind of military operation. The information campaign that he is conducting about his own citizens leaving, and particularly staffing down some of his embassy, what he is saying is not the threat of a Russian invasion. He is saying that the Ukrainians are preparing to conduct military operations against the Russian separatists, and as a result of that, he wants his people to get out because the Ukrainians are going to destabilize the situation. That's completely false. That's a big lie that Putin's been telling for weeks.
Yeah, it's, try to unpack like what's propaganda and what's reality. So thank you very much, General Jack Keane. We really appreciate your insights. I'm sure we'll be getting a lot of it in the coming days. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Eric?
Great talking to you, Molly. Thank you.